every new character in the Suicide Squad explained. So that's it, huh? We're just some sort of Suicide Squad sequel? That's right, folks. Ever since Saturday's massive DC fandom event, we can't stop thinking about Suicide Squad. This highly anticipated sequel from writer-director James Gunn not only revealed some epic behind-the-scenes footage, but also told us who's going to be playing who in this seriously sprawling cast. And while some of the reveals like Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, Joel Kinnaman as Rick Flag, and Jai Courtney as Captain Boomerang were to be expected if you saw the first film, many of the others left DC fans asking the same question.
Who?
No, wrong James Gunn movie and wrong universe, but it is the right question. Who the hell did James Gunn dredge up from the annals of comic book history to be in this version of the Suicide Squad? Well, wonder no longer, because we've got you covered with our guide to all the new characters in the Suicide Squad. So let's start things off with Bloodsport, a D-list villain played by an A-list actor, Idris Elba. First appearing in 1987's Superman number 4, Bloodsport answers the long-standing question of what would happen if Punisher and Rambo kissed. This Vietnam War-obsessed assassin manipulated by Lex Luthor blames Superman for all of his problems. He shoots Superman with a kryptonite bullet, and that lands him in prison and eventually under Amanda Waller's thumb. And no, before you ask, the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie of the same name came out in 1988, so technically he was first. Next up, we've got Polkadot Man, who does exactly what you think he does. Played by David Dastmalchian, this Silver Age Batman villain made his debut in 1962 under an even sillier moniker, Mr. Polkadot. His weapons are the many polka dots on his costume that can be peeled off and turned into anything from flying saucers to teleportation devices, and this just makes me wonder exactly how much acid his creators did before writing him into this issue. Sounds like a lot. Now after that, we've got Javelin, a former Olympic athlete who decides rather than Olympic gold, he wants real gold, so he turns to a life of crime for some reason. This Green Lantern villain made his not-so-triumphant debut back in 1984, which probably explains all the yellow on his costume given Hal Jordan's weakness. Mostly, I'm just concerned about Flula Borg's proclamation about what to expect in this movie.
Everyone is exploding. Genitals, heads, arms, legs.
Yikes. And that brings us to Pete Davidson as Blackguard, or Blackguard if you're a D&D purist. You may remember Blackguard from Booster Gold #1 way back in 1986. Real name Richard Hertz, which yes can be shortened to Dick Hertz, Blackguard wears a power suit that lets him wield a mace and shield of pure energy. He gets immediately dunked on by Booster Gold and later gets decapitated during his stint in the Suicide Squad, so maybe they should have called him Head Hertz, or Headward for short. Next up is Peacemaker, played by the real-life Invisible Man John Cena. Unlike the rest of Suicide Squad, Peacemaker is neither a villain nor a DC character originally. A relic from Charlton Comics' Fight in 5 series in the mid-1960s, Peacemaker is a soldier who loves peace so much, he's willing to kill for it, even going so far as to wear the Dove of Peace as his emblem. Peacemaker was perhaps best known as the template for the comedian in Watchmen, but now he's best known for having perhaps the biggest arms I've ever seen on camera. Well, maybe I spoke too soon, because Mei Ling Ung as Mongul is also jacked as hell, which is fitting because Mongul is the daughter of Superman villain Mongul, an alien despot that can go toe-to-toe with the Man of Steel. A denizen of the planet Warworld, where gladiators fight to the death like every hour on the hour, Mongul might be the most powerful member of the Suicide Squad. In the comics, her brother Mongul the Younger wound up killing her, but if she bites the dust in this movie, it's gonna be 100% Amanda Waller doing it with a shiny red button detonating the bomb in her neck. Now moving down the line, we come to Savant, who is not just Julian Assange at an anime convention despite his aesthetics. Now James Gunn's favorite punching bag, Michael Rooker, plays Savant in this movie. First appearing in 2003's Birds of Prey 56, Savant was an aspiring Gotham City crime fighter whose dreams were dashed on the rocky shores of reality after Batman told him that he sucked at fighting crime. So Savant then transitioned to the much more profitable business of blackmailing people instead. In the comics, Savant is perhaps best known for torturing Black Canary to learn Batman's secret identity, but in this movie, he'll probably be best known for having an incredibly gory death scene. Mary Poppins, y'all, he is not. Next, we have Weasel, a Firestorm villain from 1985, who kind of looks like if you gave Rocket Raccoon a bad batch of super soldier serum, which is fitting because Sean Gunn plays both characters. Or as Sabrina Ramirez said on Nerdist News Talks Back, Weasel looks like taxidermy gone wrong. Weasel was basically a murdery furry. He was an unpopular Stanford student who turned to a life of crime dressing up like a weasel, before eventually getting real superpowers like super strength and razor-sharp claws. While on Task Force X, he killed another member of the group and was summarily put out of his misery. In this movie, he kind of looks like the anthropomorphic representation of the year 2020, just horrifying. Next up, we have the biggest star of this entire movie, King Shark. James Gunn knew the world has a sickness for thickness, and he delivered the goods with Steve Agee as the on-set King Shark. This Superboy villain was obviously a product of the 1990s, debuting just 2 months after Street Sharks hit the airwaves in 1994. Known as Nanaue, King Shark is the son of Chandra, the god of all sharks, and a human woman. And eventually he upstaged DC's original half-shark, half-human villain, the Shark, by becoming a full-fledged member of Suicide Squad. And look at him now! He's everywhere! While everyone had Peter Capaldi pegged to play a character like Ratcatcher, the Doctor is now the Thinker, a genuinely powerful Flash villain created in the 1940s. You may remember the Thinker as the telepathic big bad from Season 4 of the Flash TV show, but considering that all of the Thinker's astounding mental powers couldn't stop Weasel from murdering him in the comics, well, I'm a little bit worried about what's going to happen to him on the big screen. Peter Capaldi, R.I. Peter. Now, we may never see Matter Eater Lad on the big screen, but we will get another Legion of Superheroes weirdo in the form of Nathan Fillion as TDK. While there's no DC villain actually named TDK, we think that stands for the Detachable Kid, and that he's a riff on a failed Legion of Superheroes applicant named Arm Fall Off Boy. And based on the artwork for TDK and what we saw of Arm Fall Off Boy in the comics, this is all but guaranteed. Guaranteed to make me laugh my ass and my arms all the way off. Now, next up, we've got Ratcatcher 2. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why did they make a sequel to Ratcatcher? Wasn't Otis Flanagan good enough as a Gotham City Ratcatcher turned rat-based criminal when he debuted in 1988's Detective Comics number 585? Well, yes, good question. The answer is probably, but since Daniela Melchior's character is called Ratcatcher 2, something tells me this is a family affair and likely didn't end well for old Otis. Now, last but not least, we have Alicia Braga as Salsaria, a character who does not exist in DC Comics canon. But the prevailing theory is that she's a gender-bent version of Juan Soria, a cybernetically enhanced Justice League reject who injected nanites into his hands that let him unlock any lock. Soria robbed a bank, got sent to Bell Rev Penitentiary, and joined the Suicide Squad instead of, like, a book club. We'll just have to wait and see, though, if that's what actually happens for Salsaria as well. And there you have it, folks. That's our guide to all the brand new characters in James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. We still have no idea who Taika Waititi's playing, but we have some theories that you can check out on this week's Nerdist News Talks Back. And if nothing else, we'll all find out together when The Suicide Squad hits theaters in August 2021. But in the meantime, tell me, what do you think? Which of these characters is your favorite and why? Who do you think is actually going to survive this movie? Let me know in the comments below, and in the meantime, for all the latest and greatest in the world of pop culture, make sure you stay tuned to Nerdist.com.